In a small Nevada town, an unthinkable disaster is unfolding. It's a holiday weekend, and 250,000 tourists are in town. Meanwhile, 500 kilograms of explosives are sitting inside a building, capable of detonating at any moment. The bomb is rigged in such a way that defusing or even moving it without triggering an explosion is impossible. The authorities are running out of options. For the FBI, this is a nightmare scenario. Back in 1980, the FBI faced the most powerful bomb they had ever encountered. It was no ordinary device. It had been meticulously designed to bring down an entire building. "My name is Jim Carlstrom. I used to run the FBI's New York office," he later recounted. Agents and bomb experts from all over the country rushed to find a way to deactivate the deadly device and track down the person responsible for planning it. The town of State Line, Nevada, sits right on the California border. In the 1980s, it was home to just 1,300 people. However, its main industry was gambling, which made a magnet for criminals looking for a quick score. August 26, 1980, 5:30 a.m. Two men approached the entrance of Harvey's casino, claiming to be delivering a new photocopier. A security guard directs them to the manager's office on the second floor. Unbeknownst to him, he has just allowed something far more sinister than a copier inside the building. Shortly after 6 a.m., another security officer, making his routine rounds, notices something unusual. The door to the manager's office won't budge. It seems like the keyhole has been deliberately jammed. After some effort, he manages to get the door open, only to find an unusual metal box sitting in the middle of the room. Lying on the floor next to it is a letter. The note delivers an alarming message. The metal container holds an incredibly powerful bomb. Without hesitation, the guard alerts the Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Within minutes, Captain Ron Perini received the call. It was around 6:30 a.m. when I was told there was a bomb inside Harvey's casino. Realizing the severity of the situation, Perini immediately requests assistance from the Tahoe Douglas Bomb Squad. The bomb itself is large and made entirely of metal. The letter warns that it contains roughly 500 kilograms of TNT, a quantity powerful enough to obliterate everything within a 150-meter radius. But that's not all. The device is equipped with 3 separate timers, each set to a different detonation time. To make matters worse, the letter states that the bomb cannot be moved or deactivated without setting it off. The man behind this plot isn't just making threats. He has given Casino an ultimatum. Pay him $3 million, or he will blow the entire building to pieces. And if the FBI tries to interfere, he promises to strike again. The device sitting in Harvey's casino isn't just large, it's deadly. Experts quickly determine that if it detonates, the blast will obliterate everything within 150 meters, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. The amount of explosive material packed inside is staggering. If this bomb goes off, nobody in the building will survive. To make matters worse, the bomb's intricate design suggests that the person who built it knows exactly what they're doing. This isn't some amateur with a grudge. This is a work of someone meticulous, intelligent, and dangerously skilled. And the worst part? Authorities have no idea when it's set to go off. How do you evacuate an entire casino without causing panic? At the time, Harvey's casino was full of gamblers, and the attached hotel had hundreds of guests asleep in their rooms. Moving them all to safety without setting off mass hysteria was a logistical nightmare. Over the next few hours, 600 hotel guests were discreetly evacuated and relocated to a nearby school. It was terrifying, one guest later recalled. If that bomb had gone off, we all would have been killed. With the building now mostly empty, Captain Perini made a tough call. This case was too big for local law enforcement to handle. This was an extortion case, Perini explained. We didn't have the expertise or the resources to handle something this complex, so we called in the FBI immediately. At the time, extortion attempts weren't uncommon in State Line's casinos. Criminals often place small, makeshift bombs inside these gambling establishments, hoping to intimidate owners into paying up. In fact, the FBI had recorded dozens of such cases that year alone. But this one was different. I had never seen anything like this in my life, said one FBI agent. The sheer size and complexity of this bomb, it was on another level. Adding to the mystery was a peculiar detail. The top of the device had 28 numbered switches, all set in the same position, except for switch number 23, which was flipped in the opposite direction. Nobody knew what the switches did. Would flipping one disarm the bomb? Would it set it off immediately? There was no way to tell. And the letter left behind by the bomber wasn't just a demand for money. It contained intricate details about the device itself. After analyzing the letter and initial x-rays of the bomb, one thing became horrifyingly clear. Moving it was not an option. The FBI quickly cordoned off the area surrounding the casino. They shut down Highway 50, the main road through town, to prevent any civilian casualties. Other casinos in the area immediately began evacuating their own guests. Some even went as far as boarding up their windows in case the bomb detonated and sent deadly shards of glass flying through the streets. Meanwhile, the bomb squad faced an impossible task. Typically, bomb technicians wore thick, protective suits when attempting to defuse an explosive. But in this case, no amount of armor would matter. If that thing went off, one expert said, there'd be nothing left of us to find. So before they could do anything, they needed to figure out exactly what they were dealing with. Special Agent in Charge Herb Hawkins was leading the case from the FBI's Las Vegas field office. His first priority? Understanding the bomb's inner workings. Because it was too large for a single X-ray machine, technicians had to take over 200 separate X-ray scans and piece them together like a puzzle. The FBI also dusted the bomb's metal casing for fingerprints, hoping to find a match. A tiny sample of paint was carefully scraped from the device. If they were lucky, this might help track down the materials used to construct it. But the most promising clue came from an unexpected place: a drop of blood found on the metal box. It wasn't much, an investigator recalled, but it was enough to be tested. The fingerprints, paint sample, and blood were rushed to the FBI crime lab in Washington, D.C. The priority, however, was still the same: disarm the bomb before it was too late. But what the X-rays revealed next sent a chill down the agent's spines. The bomb's bottom section was completely packed with explosive material, so dense that even the X-ray couldn't penetrate it fully. And running through the device were several electrical wires, leading directly to the core of the explosive payload. It was a horrifying realization. Any wrong move could set off the bomb instantly. At this point, the FBI called in nuclear weapons specialists from the Nuclear Emergency Search Team, NEST, to assess the damage radius. Their findings were worse than expected. If the bomb detonated, the blast radius could reach up to 800 meters, wiping out a huge chunk of the town and causing devastation beyond anything they had anticipated. And now, the FBI was left with an impossible question. Was there any way to defuse it? Time was running out. With each passing hour, the threat of the bomb inside Harvey's casino grew more urgent. The device was too unstable to move, too complex to defuse, and its potential blast radius was catastrophic. The best option? Find the bomber before he had a chance to detonate it. By now, State Line was crawling with investigators from multiple agencies. Sheriffs from Douglas County, police from South Lake Tahoe and El Dorado County, and FBI agents from all over the country had descended on the area, trying to track down the criminals behind this unprecedented attack. Every guest and employee at Harvey's casino was questioned. Someone had to have seen something. Investigators soon received a valuable lead from one of the casino's security guards. He told them that around 5:30 a.m., two men had arrived, claiming to be delivering a photocopier. They had used a white van to transport the heavy equipment. That was it, the first real clue in the case. Now, the FBI knew: 1. Two men were involved in delivering the bomb. 2. They were using a white van. 3. The bomb had been placed inside the casino at around 5:30 a.m. With this information, agents immediately launched a search for every white van in the surrounding areas. Local police set up roadblocks and began pulling over every van that matched the description. Meanwhile, forensic experts were still analyzing the bomb, hoping for a breakthrough. After a full day of X-ray analysis and studying the extortion letter, the FBI came to a grim conclusion. The bomb was not only real, but also flawlessly designed. We had seen a lot of threats before, one FBI agent later admitted, but this one was different. This guy knew what he was doing. The FBI's explosive specialists spent hours trying to determine if there was any way to disarm or safely move the bomb. But the deeper they looked, the more they realized every possible action would trigger an explosion. If they moved the bomb, it would detonate. If they tried cutting the wires, it would detonate. If they tampered with the switches, it would detonate. The bomb was armed and fully functional. And now, the FBI was faced with a brutal choice. 1. Follow the bomber's instructions and deliver the ransom money. 2. Find the bomber before time runs out. Later that evening, the FBI made a bold decision. They would pretend to cooperate with the bomber. But instead of handing over $3 million, they would use fake money and try to lure him into a trap. The casino owner, Harvey Gross, was skeptical about the idea. He asked the agents directly, "What happens if you don't catch him? Won't he just detonate the bomb?" The FBI assured him that capturing the criminal was the best way to prevent an explosion. Gross agreed, but only on one condition. If this goes wrong and my casino is destroyed, fine. But no innocent people should get hurt. With that, the FBI set the plan in motion. According to the extortion letter, the $3 million ransom needed to be flown in a helicopter to a remote area where further instructions would be given. Because the bomber forbade any law enforcement presence, the FBI had to be careful. A trained FBI pilot was selected for the mission, and he was secretly wired with a hidden microphone so that agents could listen in. He was ordered to fly to South Lake Tahoe Airport and wait for further instructions. At exactly 11 p.m., the pilot landed. Then, at 12:05 a.m., a payphone near the airfield rang. It was the bomber. Over the phone, the bomber instructed the pilot to check under the phone booth shelf. There, the pilot found a handwritten note with more instructions. He was to follow Highway 50 West. He had to maintain an altitude of only 150 meters. Eventually, he would see a flashing strobe light, which would mark the drop-off point. The FBI immediately dispatched ground units to scout the area ahead of the helicopter, hoping to catch the suspect in the act. But there was one major problem. The strobe light never appeared. The helicopter pilot made several passes along the designated route, scanning the landscape below. Nothing. After hours of flying, the pilot radioed back to the FBI. There's no signal, no light, no sign of anyone. By 4 a.m., the mission was called off. The bomber had vanished. The FBI had been outplayed. The FBI's plan to lure the bomber into a trap had failed. The ransom drop was a bust, and the strobe light that was supposed to guide the helicopter never appeared. Now, investigators were faced with a chilling possibility. What if the bomber was watching the entire time? Had he spotted undercover agents at the airport? Had he anticipated the FBI's trap and abandoned his plan at the last second? Either way, one thing was clear. He was still out there, and the bomb was still inside Harvey's casino. For the next 2 days, the bomber made no contact. There were no phone calls, no further instructions, nothing. The FBI had no idea if he was planning to detonate the bomb remotely, if he was waiting for the authorities to cave in and pay up, or if he had already skipped town. All they knew was that the clock was still ticking. Meanwhile, the bomb squad was running out of ideas. With no way to safely disarm the device, one agent came up with a radical solution. What if we blow up part of the bomb before it can blow up the whole building? The idea was simple. Use a small explosive charge to sever the bomb's control system. The device had 2 sections, a top control box, which housed the wiring and timers, and a bottom section, which contained the bulk of the explosives. The hope was that by destroying the control box, the bomb would lose its ability to detonate. But it was a huge risk. If the top box also contained explosives, then their plan wouldn't just fail. It would trigger a massive detonation. The FBI presented the idea to Harvey Gross, the casino's owner. He listened carefully, then made his decision. If this is the only option, then do it. But nobody gets hurt. That's all that matters. Gross knew that if the plan failed, his casino would be reduced to rubble. But he also understood the stakes. Waiting any longer could mean an explosion that killed hundreds. The team carefully placed an explosive charge designed to cut through metal and sever the control box from the main bomb. At precisely 3:45 p.m., all personnel were cleared from the area. A high-speed camera was set up to record the detonation. The final countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. The explosion ripped through the top section of the bomb, sending debris flying across the casino. For several seconds, nobody knew if the plan had worked or if the entire building was about to go up in flames. Then the dust settled. The bomb hadn't gone off, but the explosion had caused significant damage to the hotel's second and third floors. Still, it was a miracle. Not a single person was injured. Now that the device was destroyed, FBI agents and bomb technicians rushed inside to examine the remains. The casino was in ruins. Parts of the bomb had been blown apart, scattering metal fragments across the building. But that was exactly what the agents needed. The fragments could reveal where the bomb had been built, what materials were used, and who was behind it. The FBI carefully collected every piece of evidence and sent it to their Washington, D.C. crime lab for forensic analysis. Their biggest question: who was responsible for this attack? At the same time, the FBI decided to increase the reward for information leading to Bomber's arrest from $250,000 to $500,000. The hope was that someone would come forward, and then, just a few days later, they got the break they were waiting for. With the bomb neutralized and the casino in ruins, the FBI turned its full attention to finding the man behind the attack. Just days after the FBI doubled the reward to $500,000, a phone call came in. A young man from Fresno, California, claimed that the FBI was looking at the wrong suspect. He told investigators, "It's not the guy you think, but I know who it is. You need to look at John Burgess." The FBI had never heard the name before, but within hours, John Burgess became their prime suspect. Investigators quickly pieced together his background. Burgess was an immigrant from Hungary who had fled the country after clashing with Soviet forces during the Hungarian Revolution. He had extensive experience with explosives. While imprisoned in a Soviet labor camp, he had been forced to work with detonations and demolition. After moving to the U.S., he settled in California and started a landscaping business. He was a compulsive gambler who owed large debts to Harvey's Casino. The FBI now had a clear motive: revenge and money. Agents tracked down Burgess's sons, who were in their 20s. After intense questioning, both sons cracked. They revealed the truth. John Burgess had built the bomb. They admitted that their father had involved them in parts of the plot, though they insisted they never supported the plan. And the most shocking detail: Burgess was planning another attack. His sons led the FBI to a hidden stash, 300 kilograms of stolen dynamite, buried in an empty riverbed outside Fresno. This confirmed what the FBI had feared. Burgess had more explosives and was ready to strike again. With mounting evidence, the FBI placed Burgess under 24-hour surveillance. They were waiting for the perfect moment to make their move. Then, one afternoon, Burgess tried to leave town. That's when agents moved in and arrested him. At the time of his arrest, Burgess denied everything. But the FBI now had enough evidence to charge him, including his son's confessions, the hidden explosives, the fact that the electrical switches on the bomb matched those in a feeding system Burgess had built for a family farm, testimony that he had written the extortion letter with his girlfriend's help, 2 of his employees admitting that they had helped deliver the bomb to Harvey's Casino. In April 1985, John Burgess was convicted on multiple counts, including extortion, conspiracy, and destruction of property. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. His 2 sons received lighter sentences, as they had played minor roles and cooperated with authorities. The case was finally closed. Although Harvey's Casino was partially destroyed, the FBI considered the operation a success because no one had died. One agent later reflected, "We lost a building, but we saved lives. And we caught the guy before he could do it again." The case became a landmark investigation in the FBI's history, a reminder of how far criminals would go for money and how complex modern bomb threats could be. The Harvey's Casino bombing became one of the most infamous extortion attempts in U.S. history. It was a case that pushed the FBI to its limits, tested the skill of the nation's best bomb technicians, and nearly ended in catastrophe. The explosion caused millions of dollars in damage, reducing entire sections of the casino to rubble. Yet, Despite the massive destruction, not a single person was harmed. The casino's owner, Harvey Gross, was devastated but relieved. Buildings can be rebuilt. Lives can't be replaced. And true to his word, he rebuilt the casino, ensuring that Harvey's would rise again. John Burgess, the mastermind behind the bombing, never showed remorse for what he had done. He spent his final years in prison, serving a life sentence without parole. Despite his arrogance, intelligence, and elaborate planning, he made one fatal mistake. He trusted others to keep a secret. In the end, his own sons turned against him when they realized just how dangerous their father had become. For the FBI, the Harvey's case was a wake-up call. Bombs of this complexity had never been seen before in the U.S., and the failures of the investigation, such as losing contact with the extortionist and being forced to detonate the bomb instead of defusing it, forced them to improve their counterterrorism strategies. We learn a lot, an FBI agent later admitted. Unfortunately, we've had to use those lessons more times than we ever wanted to. The techniques and technology developed after the Harvey's casino bombing became essential in handling future bomb threats, including high-profile terrorism cases. Today, the Harvey's bombing remains one of the largest and most sophisticated domestic bombings in U.S. history. It serves as a chilling reminder of how far one desperate man was willing to go, and how close a major disaster came to unfolding in a small Nevada town. Although Harvey's casino was rebuilt, the memory of that fateful August morning in 1980 still lingers. The bomb may have failed to destroy Harvey's, but its story will never be forgotten.